For clicking in on this video. I wanted to kick this video off with just a few questions about your relationship with your emotions. So the first question is, what is your relationship with your emotions? Do you avoid your emotions altogether? Do you label them as good or bad? Are you aware of what you're feeling before you outwardly express it? So I ask all of those questions because this is a topic that is something I would consider a passion of mine, because I didn't always have the best relationship with my emotions and feelings until I went to therapy. And not that this is a video just about that, though I do definitely advocate for therapy, among other healthy practices. But this video is to get you to maybe think about what is your relationship with your emotions. So for me, I feel like maybe growing up, the impression that I received was that you don't want to be too emotional. And I would say we probably think the same about emotions, in today's times. But I think the better way to go about it is making sure you are emotionally regulated, right? You have to understand how to control the way that you feel, because emotions are real. I think that's also an impression that maybe I received growing up anyway, is that, you don't have to feel a certain way or you shouldn't feel a certain way, when in reality, we feel the way that we feel for a reason. So once I felt like I allowed myself to feel all the feelings more of the times, I think my life changed. And I can remember the counseling session that I was sitting in where my therapist, I was telling her about how I didn't want to feel something. It was likely a feeling I associated with being negative, but I told her I didn't want to feel it. And she gave me that therapist look and paused and said, one day is a long time to feel just one emotion. Allow yourself to feel more. And when she said that, it made me pause. I remember and just kind of looking like it, because it clicked with me. So I was like, ooh, she's right. But it's kind of like, ooh, how dare she tell me to feel more things? But I knew she was right. And I think that's really what it is. We have to allow ourselves permission, no matter what the story is that we heard growing up. You have to allow yourself permission to feel some of the things, because if you don't express it in some way, in a healthy, productive way, it's going to come out maybe in a non-productive way that makes it to where you have more cleanup to do, right? So when something overflows at the wrong time, it makes more of a mess. So allow yourself more time to feel. I wanted to read a quote because I'm a quotes person, this quote is one I picked out because, again, your emotions are signaling something to you. And this comes from author Steven Pressfield, who writes, "Are you paralyzed with fear? That's a good sign. Fear is good, like self-doubt. Fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do." So sometimes when we avoid dealing with one of our emotions because we label it as bad, or we don't want to feel it because there's pain involved, there's hurt that's still there, it can delay our actions in a way that, had we just sat with that feeling and felt it, we could be a little bit further, or we could eliminate some of the time that we have taken to kind of coddle or avoid the inevitable. If you don't express it, it's going to come up anyway. So definitely do it. And the author goes on to say how, and this is Steven Pressfield, the more scared we are of a work or calling, the more we can be sure that we have to do it. So sometimes those feelings come up, they're nerves, but that's normal. And I don't think we heard that enough, that it's normal to feel all of the feelings. And I hope that resonates with someone who may need to hear it as a sign to take the next best step for you. Feel the feelings. question why you feel a certain way, or maybe it's just becoming more aware of how you feel when you feel it. So if you are avoiding, how sometimes we say, oh, that's going to make me cry. I don't want to feel that right now. And I get it because we have, sometimes multiple things to do in a day. You don't want to get all teary before a meeting. But sometimes you have to let it out. So find a way to do that is my encouragement from, this conversation, is to express yourself. And maybe it's having that internal conversation, sitting down with yourself and wondering, just going down the trail of how you got to that feeling. What happened? Replaying the events accurately, because another thing about when you suppress things, you tell yourself a story in your head about what you think happened that may be super far from the actual truth. So allow yourself to feel and see where that takes you. And I had one more quote that I wanted to share. Actually, it's a poem by Rumi, and it's called The Guest House. Maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't, but I loved it, so I'm going to read it in your hearing. The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So, again, feel and heal, or feel and act, but definitely be aware of how you feel so that you can make the best decision for you. So thank you for listening today. Come back and join the conversation. Let me know what you're thinking. How do you manage your feelings? How have you grown with your feelings? Things of that nature. So thank you. Have a great day.